So for the past few days, we have been processing our maple sap into maple syrup. So I wanted to walk you guys through that process, as well as show you how to identify, specifically today, a sugar maple. During the season where you're tapping your maple trees, it's a requirement that at night the temperatures are freezing, so below zero, and that sucks the water into the tree and creates pressure. During the day, when the temperature rises, that pressure is released and it allows the sap to flow out of the spout into our bucket to collect our sap. And because of these requirements, there is snow on the ground when that season starts, so you can't always identify a maple tree from its leaves, the staple. So I want to show you other ways to identify it. Right now, there are buds, there are leaves from last season, so I'm going to show you that as well. But specifically the sugar maple behind me, and why it's important to know its bark. So all maple trees have vertical ridges as they age. So this is on that tree right there. They have opposite branching. So 2 branches, 1 node. Even when there's only 1 branch, you can confirm from the scarring on the other side, and I'll show you even here. There's no branches there, but you can tell these are scars. On a maple tree as well, 1 stem, 1 leaf. This is called a simple leaf. Compound leaf would be 1 stem, multiple leaves from 1 stem. Maple trees also have Samaras, which are the helicopters, kind of like this, that hold the seeds. So that's another identification of a maple tree. So let's get into sugar maples. It's important to be able to identify sugar maple, especially during maple tapping season, because it takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup from a sugar maple, whose sap ratio is about 98% water, 2% sugar. So if you were to tap another type of maple tree, it would take you about 80 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. That's why it's important to identify a sugar maple tree. So to identify your sugar maple tree, all maple trees as they age develop vertical ridges. On a sugar maple tree, these ridges will lift from the sides to create these large plates. If you push on the plate, it should not crumble, it should not snap underneath your fingers, because the sugar maple tree is a hardwood tree. It lives a very long time and it grows slowly. And because of that, the wood is very dense. So when you push on the plate, it shouldn't snap and crumble under your fingers. A silver maple tree, for example, it grows super fast, but it doesn't live as long, so the wood is not as dense. So that's why it's more susceptible to wind damage, and also if you push on its ridges, it will just snap and crumble under your fingers. Another difference with that, a sugar maple tree's plates will lift from the side, as opposed to a red or a silver maple that will lift from the bottom. Sugar maple trees, if you ever see a very large maple tree, it is probably a sugar maple tree, because red maples will probably get around 1 foot in diameter, and silver maples are about the same, just because they're more susceptible to damage. You can also tell what type of maple tree it is just from the landscape. We're on the top of a hill right now. You will not find this tree at the bottom of the hill. You will not find it where the water's pooling. You will not find it beside the water. That is most likely a silver maple or a red maple. These need good drainage, mesic environments, so moist and cool environments. This is also why that they're able to thrive in forest environments. They are all right in shade. As for identifying a sugar maple based on the growth of the tree, their maple leaves are kind of the quintessential Canadian maple leaf. So it has the 5 lobes, the U-shaped sinuses, and the smooth edges. The Samaras, or their helicopters, will have the seed and then almost parallel wings to each other. The flowers of this tree will dangle off the tree, unlike on a red maple where they're just clusters of flowers, or kind of like these red circles. And also the buds of this tree. You will not see the buds from the ground. We've got these right here. They just grow off. You will not see that from the ground looking up. Unlike a red maple, when you look up, there's red clusters, there's red bulbs at the end. So those are more identification tips on how to identify your sugar maple. Now I'll show you guys the hill, I'll show you which ones we tapped, and then I'll bring you down the hill to show you us processing our maple sap into syrup. So fast forward into the beginning of the month here. These are some photos that I snapped from our sap collection. So about 95% of the trees on this hill and in this frame are sugar maples. Some are just premature, so we don't tap them. And we just don't have the resources to tap them all at once. We tap all the way up into the top of the hill. And like I mentioned before, they are not a downhill tree. They need access to water, good drainage, but they can't be sitting in water, waterlogged. So during the spring, when all that snow is melting, the water's rushing downhill. So they don't want to be at the bottom of the hill sitting in that, because that's when their roots start to rot. That's when their roots are deprived of oxygen. And that's when an environment that's ideal for insects and disease, so fungal infections, that's where that begins to thrive. So here's our sap flowing. And this bucket was collected for about 3 days. As the sap is collected, you have to empty it into larger buckets until you have enough to put in these large pots where you start boiling the water out. So the water turns into mist, it evaporates, and you're left with sugar, maple syrup.